in such radical and new and important ways, a space that is at once distanced and also incredibly intimate. When we're in church together, we actually can see each other and we're in a shared space, but we might not be able to see one another's faces as clearly as we can see them in this way. So it's a powerful space, and we're so glad that you've all decided to join us this morning. I want to begin acknowledging the land that we are each on. We have this listed in our bulletin when we're in the sanctuary, but now that we are not using a shared paper bulletin, I just want to kind of notice or invite us to notice the land on which you find yourself right now. I know that I and many of us in the Philadelphia area are on land that was traditionally stewarded by the Lenni Lenape. And wherever you are, you may be on land that was the ancestral home for other groups of people and other communities. So I just invite you to take a moment and notice your connection to the particular land that you're on, and ask that we all live in harmony with that land and honor the lives of those who have gone before us in all of the places that we occupy this morning. I'm really excited this morning because we've got some special musicians with us. And so I will invite Nathan Sedacian, who is a junior at Plymouth White Marsh High School and one of our active kids over the years. We've gotten to see him grow up. He is going to be playing his violin this morning, a piece by Bach. So Nathan, it's over to you.
Can you hear me, all of you? Good? Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nathan. Oh my gosh, it is so good to see you and to be back with you and hear your music. That was a real gift to all of us this morning. Thank you so much. Hey. So I'm inspired by that music and hopefully juiced up. I invite us to our opening song. Terry will put up the words. This is an old camp song, so it might be familiar to some of you who did church camp maybe back in the day, and it's certainly something we've sung at church over the years. If your kids, I definitely, and even if you're not, I definitely encourage you to be able to do the motions, which include standing up, rising and shining, and giving God the glory. And if you can't get yourself completely up out of your chair, maybe use your arms in the process. So we're going to sing Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory. I'm going to, we'll start with the chorus, and I'm going to sing some verses, and you'll know when it's time to come in. Let's start out with the chorus together. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, children of the Lord. And this is going to be a little bit of the story of Noah, which we'll come back to later. My turn. The Lord said to Noah, there's gonna be a floody, floody. Lord said to Noah, there's gonna be a floody, floody. Get those children out of the mighty, mighty children of the Lord. Chorus. So rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, children of the Lord. If you know this, sing along. So Noah, he built him an arky, arky. Noah, he built him an arky, arky. Built it out of hickory, barky, barky, children of the Lord. And we'll go on. The animals, they came on by twosies, twosies. Animals, they came on by twosies, twosies. Elephants and kangaroosies, roosies, children of the Lord. So rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, children of the Lord. It rained and poured for 40 daisies, daisies. Rained and poured for more than 40 daisies. Nearly drove those animals crazy, crazy, children of the Lord. Then the sun came out and dried up the landy, landy. Sun came out and dried up the landy, landy. Everything was fine and dandy, dandy, children of the Lord. Chorus last time. So rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, children of the Lord. Well done. I enjoyed watching some of you jumping up out of your seats. That was awesome. So that's going to set us up for our opening sentences. And we are going to see those on the screen. And I'm so excited because Cooper and Oren Erno are going to lead us in our opening sentences. So Cooper and Oren, we're going to be able to hear you and maybe see you along the side. And we're going to be joining in with you on the opening sentences.
Rise and shine and give God the glory.
But what if I'm tired and crabby?
Rise and shine and give God the glory.
But this is hard. I don't feel like rising or shining.
But look, you've already risen. You woke up this morning. You got yourself to church. You're here.
Well, maybe I could rise, but I'm not sure about shining.
It sure looks like you're shining to me. We see you, and you look pretty awesome.
Okay, well, maybe I'm shining. Just a little.
Just a little. You're shining like a flower that's turning its face toward the sun. You're shining like a kid that just got a present. You're on fire.
I guess I'm kind of on fire, but as for his glory business.
Give God the glory.
But I don't know what that means.
It just means saying, wow, thanks, God.
I guess I could do that.
Why don't you give it a try?
Wow, thanks, God.
Amen.
Amen.
Wow, thanks God. Wow, thanks guys. That was awesome. So I don't know if you can see, sometimes this is one way that people can express their applause and their clapping and their affirmation. So it's actually an awesome way to clap on Zoom so that we can see each other, and hopefully Orrin and Cooper, you can see how much we appreciated that. So normally Ovid would be coming on right now to share a word or a message or drop some wisdom on the kids in the presence of the adults, but I understand that Ovid's actually not available today, but I did get a message that there's someone that we haven't met before, a Mix Newsy Nesbit. I don't know who this person is, but they're gonna talk to us today.
Oh, yes. Oh, hello. It's me. But I am Mix Newsy Nesbit, and I want to tell you a few things about myself. I am very much an insider. I love being inside, even in my church office when I'm here. I love collecting stamps and having tea parties. Yes, I do love a good, strong feeling in the morning to help me with my feelings. Well, here's the news about the church. I was outside taking my constitutional in the cemetery there, and I noticed a tombstone outside. And I wanted to share with you all that the tombstone is, it belongs to someone named Richard Besson. Now, Richard Besson was alive, he died in 1861. So he was alive, well, you can do the math on your own time because I have news to catch up on. But Richard's family, his father was a postmaster, one of the first postmasters in Chestnut Hill. And his brother, I think, was a mail carrier. And I told you, I do love so many stamps. I love stamps. I love stamps because they come on messages. Often, and here's my trusty mailbox, often in letters. And I wanted to let you, I forgot to tell you, I also do love reading my Bible. I know that in the Bible, there's a whole bunch of letters there when people were far, far away from each other. They sent letters through messengers who had to run and run and run. Some of you love running. Well, I love being inside. But I wanted you all to keep in touch with me. I wanted to invite you to keep in touch with me until you can join me at a tea party sometime, maybe in a few months or something like that. I would love to have some pen pals to tell me about the news that's going on in your life, because I do love news and I do love you, even though this is my first time meeting you. I already love you because I feel so welcome here in this community, because I know that all are welcome. And I know Ovid would probably love to hear from you too. So tell me about the news in your life, the animals you've seen, plants you're growing, the tea you've made, and any questions you might have about church or God. They can also come here to this mailbox, and I can pass the news along to the pastors. This is also a way that children can put in some prayer requests and drawings or anything. Scribble Scrabble works for me. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I will tell Ovid you said hello, because I am sure that you will. The end.
Well, that was super exciting and a great way to start off our announcements this morning. So we want to start off by just reiterating that our visitor, Newsy Nesbit, is inviting all young people to send drawings or letters by can help. But Newsy Nesbitt wants to hear from you, so please reach out. We have a lot of other announcements as well, and we also want to let you know that they're important enough that we want to let you know we'll be sending the content of these announcements this week via email, so you'll be able to look back to them. Prayer requests, we've set up a special email address, prayers@chestnuthillunited.org. So that is another way other than on Sundays for you to reach out if you would like us to be in prayer for you. Continue to check in with each other and with pastors so that we can continue to take good care of each other. The church email list, if you're interested in being part of that to make sure you get the links for church and all of the announcements, please let us know, and you can do that by sending an email to churchadministrator@chestnuthillunited.org, and you will be put on our church email list. We're starting Bible study virtually. It's very exciting. That will happen beginning Wednesday at 7:30, starting this week. We will send out an email link so that anyone who wants to participate can, and Margaret will be the primary facilitator of that, and I'll be helping her out, so it's very exciting. We do have our friends and members Facebook group, and you can opt in at this link, which again will be emailed out this week. And then a reminder that this is the time of year when we do our annual pledge campaign. So the Stewardship Committee is working hard and asking us all to think about what can we give, and sending in our commitments, our pledges for the fiscal year that starts July 1st. So please continue to prayerfully consider what you can give, and then let us know by emailing the financial secretary at chestnuthillunited.org. Becca and Keith are serving in that role, and we want to hear from you. It's really important for us to be able to plan and budget appropriately so that we continue to fund our ministries. Reminding you that if you give by text, the interface is going to look different, but don't worry, it will still work the same as before. Right after service, the Environmental Justice Center is going to meet. We're just gonna stay on. So if you're part of that group or just curious or interested, please know that you're invited to stick around after church today in the Zoom room for a gathering. There's a reminder about our census and our vote. The deadline to request the mail-in ballot for the June primary is May 26th. So we're just reminding you to do that. We're having a youth group Zoom gathering next Saturday at 4 o'clock. So middle school and high schoolers should join us, and we're going to email a link, but we're excited to hear from you and see your faces. Thank you for filling out our community survey, those questions that we asked about what kind of support you need at this time. As a result, there's a lot of people who've stepped up and said they want to be leaders. And so we are gathering those folks, and then we will let you know what opportunities there are for you to join one of the support groups virtually. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Can you hear me now?
The community survey.
Okay. You can hear me now? So reminding you that the community survey, as a result, we're going to be creating some groups that will speak to what you're needing in this moment. So we will give you more information about what support groups that you're invited to join, but we're excited about those. If you're ordering things from Amazon, please consider designating us as your Amazon Smile charity. So don't forget to do that.
Thanks, Priscilla. That you often want to be able to access later. At this time, I'd like to turn over the floor to Leslie Hamilton, who is going to talk about the context of this powerful reading.
Thank you. So, as most of you probably know, I recently lost my mother. She transitioned to her new spirit body about 2 weeks ago. And during her life, we walked very closely, this journey of life. And the last week of her life, I wrote this piece as I walked that last final leg with her of her journey. I promised her she wouldn't be alone, and I was able to keep that promise. And this is a piece that kind of came to me in the midst of kind of that last struggle. It's called The Answer. I cannot interest her in food because food is of this plane, of this earthly plane, and she no longer is. She is of heaven and earth. Her soul is extending beyond this plane to a new plane of existence. I cannot hold her here for long with things of earth. Her eyes slide off even if there is intent, focusing on things I cannot see. Even as she longs for earth and moons and whales, her eyes cannot for long be fixed on the earthly plane such as this. There is so much more beyond than what I can provide as lore. I can no longer anchor her, as the ethereal cannot be made to hold. Her body burns as her soul expands and says, I'm going to find distant lands. Lands I cannot see with earthly eyes. I'm not allowed to see the prize, but with her gaze and midpoint fixed, she sees what's between and betwixt. She ponders as she sleeps all day what it is that her eyes do see, for this is something a spirit knows, but has forgotten as the body grows. Now that it shrinks, her soul remembers and longs for beautiful soul September of lovely weather and sun and love and things so far beyond our comprehension that we don't have the words to describe. The body, never having seen these things with fierceness, holds on and clings to this temporal existence and all that familiar is, even as the cells explode inside the body that has seen twice its share of years in life. Spirit leaves what is on this earthly plane and longs to see beyond again, and so. I cannot tempt her to eat and grow. I cannot tempt her to stay. She knows that sooner, things better are soon to come. For the soul knows that there is naught here on earth to compare to what is available over there. And so I watch the transition as she goes to some place that I used to know, and I will continue my earthly travail and my earthly pleasures and spin my earthly tale until my soul as well is stretched back to forever. Yet, until then, I'll think about that day that will come when I will once again be reunited with family and friends. And so I share this transition time with her and pray for strength and pray for grace and pray for an end to pain and circular thoughts and thank God all the while as I ask. And I'll spend time with my mom and later tell of all the things she did so well. And all the time we spent and saved and hold fast to the thought that the soul is stretched beyond the body, that at this time is hot. She says, you have to let me go. And I say, yes. And I say yes to my mother, I know, and fare thee well on this next trip back to the center of it all. And you'll be in the midst and I'll be on the fringe and missing you so. One of the things that will help is to know that one day I will see you again. And until then, I love you.
Amen. I invite you just to take a minute to let those words and those tears of Leslie's and that heart echo inside your own. Amen. Our scripture reading this morning comes from the 31st Psalm. In you, O Lord, I seek refuge. Do not let me ever be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me. Incline your ear to me. Rescue me speedily. Be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. You are indeed my rock and my fortress. For your name's sake, lead me and guide me. Take me out of the net that is hidden for me, for you are my refuge. As the designated hunter-gatherer who procures the food and medicine and supplies for my tribe, I've had the usual struggles with toilet paper, something to which I'm sure some of you can relate. When the virus hit and people started hoarding toilet paper, I tried to get about twice the amount that I normally would have. But as I saw pictures of people loading up beyond all possible human need, people frantically swiping things off shelves into their carts, I'll be honest, I was furious. Not just about the fact that some people as individuals are just so dang greedy, but about the ways in which this maniacal grab for whatever it was in their power to grab is a symptom of bigger patterns of exploitation, possession, and theft in our country's history. Like many of you, because of this mass hoarding, I couldn't get toilet paper anywhere. No big deal, I thought. I always buy the super cheap, super thin, barely good for one swipe of the mouth at dinner time paper napkins, and I had a good stash of them. So I sat down and started to cut them up into squares. I can feel our trustees getting anxious. No, it wasn't the kind of paper towel stuff that will clog your plumbing system. So let me just note that my pandemic pod over here where we're living consists of 6 adults. Myself, my husband, my 2 parents, 2 20-something-year-olds, in addition to 2 large dogs and a cat. As you can imagine, 6 adults and 3 animals have a goodly amount of input and output and require a fair amount of supplies. After cutting up all the napkins, I explained the situation to my household, distributed neat piles to all the relevant locations, nipped any preliminary signs of grumbling in the bud by reminding everyone that this difficult moment would require some sacrifice by all of us. And then about every other day, I jumped online and tried to get the real deal. And I'll be honest, since I'm not just your pastor, but also your employee, that on a day when we were running perilously low, and I mean perilously low, and I had to run over to the church to pick up a check, I confess, ask our church administrator if she could throw in a few rolls of church toilet paper. I totally understand if you need to deduct that from my salary. But then, wouldn't you know it, in the past 8 weeks, 3 times, just as we were about to run out, I was able to snag a pack or 2 of toilet paper, just enough for us to get by. I thought the Lord provides. I had, I confess, maybe more than one moment of feeling a little bit proud that I had not been like those greedy grubbers who sucked it all up, leaving the rest of us to sit at our desks with scissors. I had faith that God would provide. And then it dawned on me. I had developed a theology of toilet paper. Theology is the way that we think about the relationship between ourselves, the world, and God. So for a little primer on toilet paper theology, there are first the prosperity gospel folk, the ones who believe that God blesses them with material things in abundance because their faith is so strong, and frankly, because they just earned it. They believe that they can and will get all the good stuff, the ultra soft, cushiony touch Charmin, and loads of it. It's proof and evidence that God is on their side. Then there are the Orthodox Protestant folk like me who don't know whether the fact that we just got 2 more packs of that scratchy recycled John in our last Instacart was the result of our good works, God's grace, or some weird combination of both. But we know enough to know that we should give thanks to God anyway. Then there are the radical, early church liberation theology types like our own Ellen Brennan, one of our church leaders, who believe that we really do and should share all things in common. So, after getting an unexpected windfall of something like 94 rolls of toilet paper as a gift, Ellen promptly posted on our church Facebook page that she would share them with anyone who was in need. Let me also note that Ellen Brennan is the chair of our stewardship committee, and that we are in the middle of a pledge campaign, and that quite possibly she could be a model for the rest of us about toilet paper and giving. We are, all of us, up to our ears in poop. And we're spending a lot of time just trying to manage it. In a meeting with UCC leaders across the nation the other day, Bishop Yvette Flunder, one of the greatest theological and pastoral leaders of our time, compared our situation right now to that of Noah and his ark. And we just sang about that. Noah's story is the kind of hilarious, mythical, cautionary tale that we find in the first book of the Bible, Genesis, in which God gives Noah a heads up that the earth will be completely flooded and that God is essentially starting the experiment of life all over again. But that Noah and his small family, along with a pair of every kind of animal, will be spared. But in order to be spared, they'll have to first build a boat, an ark, climb on and hunker down while the rest of the world is essentially wiped out by a flood. And in this story, they're not on that ark just for a couple days, but about a year. Sound familiar? So imagine a couple of people and a ton of animals enclosed in a small space with nowhere to go in the midst of a storm the likes of which the earth had never seen. Nowhere to get supplies, nowhere to escape cabin fever, no way to get a break from your coworkers, family members, or beasts. And imagine how much, shall we say, poop gets generated in the process. Noah surely spent just about every waking hour managing poop. It's how many parents feel. I know it's Mother's Day and we're not going to deify mothers or make assumptions about who they've been to us or we to others. And it's important to hold space for the possibilities that for some this day is a delight and for some it is a wound. But I can say that as a parent myself, a lot of time was focused on whether or not my children were having their daily movements. Even now, Zolani, my spouse, proudly proclaims after taking out our big red shaggy dog Maggie at the end of the night, he comes in and says loudly, "Maggie pooped," and proceeds to give her a treat. This is an impossible time. Sometimes I feel like my brain can't even wrap itself around not only this moment, but what lies ahead. And a note about what lies ahead, I am going to tell a story that might not be wise for young ears to hear. The insidiousness of a virus that we can't see, that is an equal opportunity predator, but is affecting communities where pre-existing inequities like ageism and racism and ableism are setting up some people to die faster than others. It's happening just when we thought things couldn't get any worse. And I'm utterly, utterly devastated because a young man, the age of my own daughters, was out jogging at the same time that two white men with guns literally went out hunting a human being. They murdered Ahmaud Arbery in broad daylight and on video for being Black and running. In our country, that's not just called murder, it's called lynching. And the only reason that these two men were charged with the crime and charged months after the actual incident, just within the last few days, is not because the authorities saw the video, which they had, but because we did. And people like us across the country raised our voices about it, which is precisely one of the ways that we can and should be using our voices right now. And there's no guarantee that in a racist system, rigged and sick with the same kind of entitlement and privilege that makes some people hoard toilet paper and take stuff away from others because they can, and other people commit a crime like this in broad daylight and feel confident that they can walk away from it, that these men will actually be brought to justice. I don't know about you, but I am so sick of this. The lies, the way good people, truly good people, are sucked into a vortex of fear and loathing and manipulated into turning their sacred, beautiful siblings into targets. The way beautiful people are dying. And meanwhile, we're stuck on our arcs with all this poop. What are we to do with this time? What are we to do with all this crap? Bishop Flender has suggested that there are powerful things that can happen during this time if we ask, how do we want to be different after all this? How do we want to impact the planet? What is it that we really believe? How are we using the gifts that God has given us? This is a moment of global planetary reset. And because our footprint on the earth is lighter, the earth is renewing itself. Or as I said last week, the earth is reclaiming her time. We could follow the earth's lead and also use this moment to reset ourselves. So here are some of the ways we might think about being in this time, being stuck on this blasted arc in the middle of a lot of you know what. I'm sure you have other ideas and I'd love to hear them. We could spend time talking about things that matter in ways that matter. We could spend time listening, deep listening. Listening to the earth, to the people around us, to the animals, to the world. Listening behind the headlines, listening with our heart to the hearts of others. Listening for the heart of Ahmaud Arbery's mother. Listening for the heart of mothers of those behind bars. Listening to the heart of all mothers and parents fearing for their children. We could spend this time learning to be alone with ourselves, which for some of us is hard to do, and spend time being alone with God. I've come to think of the 2:30 a.m. time almost every morning when I wake up and lie in bed, sleepless, as my yo God time. I don't need to say a lot or say anything, but I just lie there and basically say, okay, here we are, me and you. It's part of the time I spend with God. We could hold on to the promise of this psalm that God is our sanctuary, our refuge. It says fortress, but that's the same thing as fort. God is our blanket fort in this time. We could claim that, we could imagine it, we could practice trusting it. We could try out the new Bible study that's starting, or one of the small groups that we're forming, places where we can be honest about what this is like for us without apologizing or expecting anyone to fix it, or worrying that others won't simply be able to bear witness to where we are. We could wonder about who we are without the desperately needed haircut, or our job, or our security. And as a church, this time gives us an opportunity to ask ourselves, who are we without our building? Who can we be if we still know there is sacred space with those beautifully restored stained glass windows that has held extraordinary lives in ministry for 175 years? And yet know that we don't have to be in that place at this moment in order to be who God is calling us into the next 175 years. And possibly, in order to live into what God is calling us to, stepping out and worshiping and connecting in other ways may be precisely the thing that we're invited to do. And all that poop in the ark, when the flood subsided and the land appeared and the earth moved from red to yellow to green and reopened for business, and it was time for Noah and all the animals to come off that ark, and you know darn well that there was a whole lot of reproducing happening during that time, as it certainly is happening now. What about all that crap? Well, that becomes the fertilizer for the crops, the dark, manure-y, smelly, rich stuff that will feed and nourish the harvest which is to come, the harvest that we can't see yet and may hardly be able to imagine, the harvest which is full of the ways in which we, our world, and the earth can be different, more just, more clean, more honest and accountable, more full of spirit. That hard stuff, that crap around us and within us, can become, for each of us and for our congregation and community, fertilizer, so that when we emerge from this time, we are different, clearer, and changed. We know for sure that the world will be different when this is over. The question will be, will we? This is God's good news. Amen.
At this time, we want to continue our tradition at this time of year, which is to hear from people in our community about what giving means to them. And so at this time, we have the opportunity to hear a video from our own Cassie Haynes for our stewardship moment.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cassie Haynes, and I was asked to share a little bit about why my wife Emily and I decide to pledge to Chestnut Hill. Last summer we joined the church, and it was the first time that we've made a monetary contribution in this way, an annual pledge to a faith community. It's something that we were really proud of, and it's the first time really in our adult lives that we've been in a position to make a contribution in this way. So for those of you who are considering pledging for the first time, it feels good. For those of you who are wondering why or how much to pledge, well, why? I think that the biggest reason we pledge is because of the people, because of the leaders that are guiding us in our walks through life, in our journeys through life. I don't think Linda knows this, but one of the first times I heard her preach, it was probably maybe the second or third time we had visited Chestnut Hill, and she was preaching on something. I can't even remember the topic she was talking about, but kind of in passing, she mentioned that we're all just walking each other home. And in reference to life, and that, you know, this is a journey, and at the end of the day, we're all just making sure that that one another gets home safe. And that is something that spoke so much to me that Emily actually, for my birthday last summer, had it printed on this block of wood that hangs in our bedroom now. So why we give to Chestnut Hill is because of this walk that we're on, and the importance we feel as a family of taking that walk with our faith community at Chestnut Hill. I remember, I think it was Laura who shared at one point during this stewardship time last year, and she encouraged people to stretch. Now might not be the time for all households to stretch financially, but for those of us who are able, I think it's more important now than ever that we stretch. We have a road of recovery ahead of us. In a big way, and this church, I think, can play such a monumental role in what that looks like for people in our community. So whatever giving looks like for you, do it annually, commit to it, tell them how much you're giving, because that's really important for budgeting. And I'm really sorry that we're late with our pledge form, but I promise I'm going to send it in this week. And I'm happy, and the blessing is not lost on me that I'm able to say that we're able to up our pledge this week. This year. Give money to Chestnut Hill. Linda and Kip and Priscilla and Ovid and Margaret, they've got big jobs always, and I think especially right now.
Thank you so much, Cassie. That was really a special message to hear. And I love how you were honest that you haven't submitted your form yet. Some of us are behind. As a reminder, on the screen are ways that you can give. You can certainly mail in a check, but if you prefer to do it electronically, please give online. And the information is there. You can also do so by text. So as we give, we have the opportunity, we are so thankful to hear from our very own Nick Sidisian, who is a junior at Abington Friends, and he will be playing a Bach piece on his cello. We're so grateful for him.
Holy smokes. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Nick. Thanks for that gift. Ah, amazing. Mhm. All right, riding on the wave of that, I invite us to sing together our closing song, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. And you'll notice in these words there is the echo, there are the echoes of that psalm, lead me and guide me. So. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I'm worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my light is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call, hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the shadows appear and the night draws near and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. And I don't know about you, but I could hear Kyoko playing underneath that. And want to also just invite us all to continue to hold Kyoko in prayer in this next week as she faces into a very difficult moment of discernment and determination about whether she will be required to leave this country or face arrest. So please hold her in your prayers as this song echoes in you.
Right before the benediction, I just want to let you know two things. The first is a reminder that you should stick around for two things. First, after the benediction, we will have a postlude where we will get to see photography by Ed Trays and hear the wonderful piano playing of Kyoko Mikino. So that will be immediately after the benediction. You can sign off after that, but you're invited to stick around for the Environmental Justice Center gathering. So feel free to stick around if you're able to. God, as we are stuck in our arcs, seeking toilet paper, feeling tired, weak, and worn, We ask that you help us to practice claiming and trusting as we walk each other home. Amen.
But I, you know, I have